This is another Into the Infinityverse video where basically I'm going to be talking about certain aspects of the Infinityverse, kind of retreading some stuff here in this one. And for those who don't know, the Infinityverse is basically a shared fanfiction universe that my friend Jason Voorhees 2011 and I work on together. And we're going to be talking about a video I did, one of the first videos I did, but I'm going to kind of shed a little more light on it. So, we're going to be talking about tonight the group known as Task Force M, which is basically a different version of the Ghoul School. So you're probably thinking, alright, so what the hell was the thought process here? Well, funny story. When Jason and I were first putting together the Ghoul School, the Infinityverse, when we were first building it, when we were first thinking out who's going to be here, who's going to be not, I basically just threw out the random idea of, hey, we have Ghoul School here, and Jason was like, okay, and I basically pitched the idea to Jason, saying, hey, how about we do we bring in these characters and make them kind of like our Suicide Squad, Task Force, our own little Task Force X, and they could go on Black Ops missions for the Global Justice Network, and they can also be used to be as an anti-superhuman deterrent in case one of the League members goes rogue. And he's like, all right, that sounds cool. And that kind of spawned from there. So let's get into this new version of the Ghoul School. So in here, the Ghoul School, Miss Grimwood's school, was more kind of like the X-Men. It was more like Xavier's Academy, where Miss Grimwood had brought together a lot of monster girls from across the world to learn to coexist for mankind. Coexist amongst mankind and learn to hide in plain sight and stuff like that. And essentially what had happened is that 5 of those students grew into a higher rank, and essentially became kind of a team that would more or less try to bridge the gap between man and monster while protecting both worlds. Like I said, it's very X-Men. It's very X-Men, and of course those 5 students were Tanis, Phantasma, Elsa, Sabella, and Winnie. So the 5 girls became the top students and became their own little team for years, until an event happened where something happened at Grimwood, which we're not going to reveal yet. But basically what had happened was something terrible happened at Grimwood Academy, and the school was shut down, it was lost, and the girls split up. We fast forward to several years later, because this was years ago, so we fast forward now to the present day, and the girls are being found and brought back together by Global Justice, specifically their new team leader, Will Do. If you guys remember Will Do, he was a character from Kim Possible. And in here, he's the new squad leader, and Dr. Director basically put him in charge of leading this new Task Force M team, because they found out the files for Task Force M and were like, Will, you're going to lead this new team. And Will is these people are they're literal monsters. There's no way they're going to obey human laws. And they do kind of rally together, because it's getting the band back together. So the 5 of them get back together and join up with Do, become agents for Global Justice, and for a while they were kind of kept under wraps. No one knew about their existence, because that was the idea, is that they would run these very Black Ops, and I do stress Black Ops missions for Global Justice, the really wet works kind of stuff. And it wasn't until recently in Dark Phoenix, where they had to reveal themselves to fight and possibly kill the Phoenix-controlled members of the League. Thankfully, no one was killed, and the team was beaten back, and the Task Force M was beaten back. Now, the team is a little different Like, the characters are obviously a lot different, and we'll kind of go through some of that. I'm not going to spoil everything, but we are going to talk about some things about it. Starting with Will. Let's start with the new leader of the team, Will. Now, Will was not a fan of leading these girls. He was more like, oh, God, I have to be tasked with this, all right? But it's not like he complains about it all the time. It's more like, this is my job, and I'm going to fulfill my duty because that's what I do as a soldier. Will also suffered a near-death experience, and he was brought back to life by a special serum that Elsa used on him that was made from the same components as the serum used in the movie Overlord. Yeah, it was a subtle reference to the movie Overlord, and now he's kind of like a monster in his own right. He's kind of like his own little super soldier. So he's now stronger, faster. He's also a little more durable. He can regenerate. He can heal himself. Yeah, and he also it was since it was like a different version of what the serum they found in Overlord. It's not mutating him. It's not like mutating him. It was like used from components of that mixed with. It was basically a component created by Millennium that mixed that with the Frankenstein formula to create life. It was a failed attempt, but thankfully Will is not suffering any side effects. Now for the rest of the team. So Sabella is in here, yes. She is the daughter of Dracula. She is Alucard's daughter, because Alucard is Dracula in our universe. They don't have they don't have the best relationship. They are kind of not speaking to one another. Sabella, we're kind of explaining why she has purple skin in here, like in the cartoon movie, is that Sabella is a more she is a more evolved vampire. It's kind of like a mutation in her body that changed that pigmentation in her skin. It allows her to go out in sunlight. She's almost as powerful as her father. And for those wondering, her mother is no one important. It's not like, oh, so and so is that person's mother. They had a kid together. We'll kind of just mention her mother in passing because Alucard's kind of been with a lot of women, so. Yeah. So, no, Sabella is not the daughter of Mina or Lucy. She's her own. Her mother was her own character. So, Sabella and Alucard don't see eye to eye. Sabella is very much like Scott Summers, where she's very much like, she's kind of like the Girl Scout, where she wants to follow a thing by the rules, but at the same time, she does understand that her team comes first. She's also Will's second in command, and is pretty like, she keeps the peace. Like, she keeps the peace between the monsters and Will, who admittedly now kind of see Will as one of their own because of the formula and that he's willing to fight for them. So they kind of accept Will a little more. So like I said, Sabella's the Cyclops. We also have, if we were to go by who's the Wolverine of this team, it's Winnie. Yeah, so Winnie is, of course, the werewolf, daughter of the Wolfman. She's not a Talbot. She is not going to be related to... She's not related to the Talbots. Winnie also has a mutation of her own, where her lycanthropy, when she was born, she was just werewolf all the time. She doesn't have a human form. She doesn't change during the full moon. Her mutation of lycanthropy was a little more advanced, so she's just a werewolf. She was born a werewolf 24/7. She's also total asshole. She is a complete asshole. We also made her Canadian because, of course, if we're going to go with the Wolverine comparison, might as well go all the way. So yeah, in here she's Canadian. But yeah, she is the kind of the asshole, the one who questions authority, and also the one who's more than willing to like tear people to shreds. Although now that I think about it, she's less Wolverine and more Sabretooth. She's more she is kind of following that Wolverine archetype, but she can switch from Logan to Sabretooth in a heartbeat. Trust me. Following that, we have Elsa. Elsa is, of course, the daughter of Frankenstein and the bride of the bride. In here, in this continuity, the story of Frankenstein was not the way you thought it went. Where basically, after Victor Frankenstein died, there was a peace there, but then Victor did create the bride, unlike in the book where it said otherwise. Victor did create the bride, and the two kind of had like a ceasefire. But eventually Victor died, and the bride and Adam, and the bride went by the name Eve because Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve came to Victor's late wife Elizabeth and said, "Hey, do you have any of his notes? We want to make a child." So she gave them the notes on the grounds of, you destroy this immediately after making your kid. So that's what they did. They made Elsa and took and destroyed all the notes. Although Millennium, like I said, did try to make a version of the Frankenstein machine to create life. Didn't go well. So Elsa in this story... Elsa in the story did in the Ghoul School days what she was kind of like that dumb dada kind of dada I want to see dada kind of dumb. She was not smart like in the original cartoon, but now she's more like Beast. She's more like Beast because she replaced her brain. She swapped out brains in the in the span in between. So she's kind of like Beast. She's more like articulate. She's intelligent, and she's very scientific. So Elsa's, like I said, if we're gonna go by X-Men comparison, she's the Hank McCoy. She's also, again, like very more reserved than the others, and like I said, she's the brains of the outfit. Next up, we have Phantasma. Phantasma, if we're going to go by anyone, she is definitely the Iceman of the group. She's, of course, the jokester, the funny one, the one who's going to crack all the jokes and is probably insane. She is, of course, has all these ghost powers similar to Danny Phantom. In fact, the reason why they brought her on was because in case Danny went rogue, they'd turn Phantasma on him. Like, she is meant to be Danny's deterrent if he ever went rogue. So, keep that in mind. Phantasma we don't have her related to anyone in particular. She is not so much born a ghost, she died a person, but that's a story for another time, I'm going to say. So, someone did murder Phantasma, and she's been wandering as a ghost ever since. And finally, we have Tanis. Now, Tanis is not the daughter of a mummy. She is a Egyptian princess, not related to anyone important in any major connection to other characters. But she does kind of have like all these kind of new powers. It's like she can also use her bandages as whips. She can turn herself into a sandstorm, turning herself into like a swarm of just scarabs and bugs and snakes, like just creepy crawlies. We wanted to give her some cool powers. She is the most innocent one of the team, and if I was to compare her to anyone, she's kind of like a Jubilee or Kitty Pryde. She's the fun, sweet, innocent one that, if need be, she will kick ass. Like that's her whole thing, is that if the moment arises, she will kick some serious ass if need be. Now there is another member to this team, but unofficially, and that's Herbert West, the Reanimator. Herbert West is a GJN agent who actually was in the beginning of the Infinityverse, was experimenting on Jason. Jason escaped, and he got busted for it. Now the thing is that the Global Justice Network has West working for them, but and they allow him to continue his experiments on the grounds of he is kind of like the team's medic. He's for them. He's like the at Task Force M's medic, even though they do have history with him. They know who he is, like, because in the time frame when they were working with Grimwood back at Grimwoods, the girls fought Jason, and they even encountered Herbert West in the past. So they do have their own rogues gallery, and Herbert was kind of a part of it, and they were not a fan of him letting Jason escape. So yeah, but Herbert was a brilliant mind, and we actually kind of tied it in to a fun little nugget of in Steven Universe. If you guys remember, in the episode Nightmare Hospital, what happened was that there was a dialogue between people back and forth, and one guy goes, "Well, Dr. West doesn't like." Well, Dr. West can deal with it, and I was like, "Are you referring to Herbert West?" So we kind of made that, like, yeah, Herbert West was hiding in Beach City as a doctor until GJN found him. So anyway, So there you go. And there are some other things, but again, can't divulge that yet, so you'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. But anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this? Like it, hate it, comment below, let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.